So I don't know if they did go head to head, tough to see who might win just because there's so much overlap. But how would you see a game kind of shaking out? I got a little cute with Bonmati dropping her a little deeper. You think that would kind of give me some problems? What would you expect if we kind of ran this simulation?
I mean, it's obviously super close, right? The fun part about FIFA, well, I guess EAFC now, if you play this on video games, you could have the same players on opposite teams. That is a fun part of the game. It's obviously super close. I even think if you did it like a Champions League, like quarterfinal, 2 ties, in a home and away set, you still might go to PKs in the second match. These teams are going to play each other pretty close to even. My internal bias, I think I'm probably maximizing Bonmati and LJ by playing them at their relatively natural positions. I think LJ gets a lot more time at left wing than she does at number 10. And I think obviously Bonmati, she's like born to be a number 10. But I love the creativity of playing her a little farther back. If you have Bonmati kind of in that number 6 role and then Olga back there, now you have like this additional chemistry back there. If things get a little squirrely, those two are going to settle the ball real quickly and just kind of be like, okay, everybody calm down. We got this. We're going to pass it. We're going to get out of trouble. And then we can move the ball back forward. I will say, I think my middle 4, if you will, my 2 center backs and my 2 holding midfielders, Bright, Renard, Stanway, and Cuthbert, I think that's going to be tough to score against. It's going to be real tough to get any kind of aerial threat against, especially with Renard and Bright back there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Bunny Shaw would love to have a word.
It is true.
Based on that last comment. She's
true.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Again, I think this would be an epic battle. If anybody out there has got the EAFC and could give this one an old spin for your boys, I mean, we would be forever indebted. I would love to actually see this one. You don't have to do the home and home. One match for all the marbles. I just love to see how it shakes out.
Love it.
We had a lot of fun with this one. Who were your toughest cuts? I mean, I had a real hard time. From my first 11 to my final 11, there was a lot of turnover, let's say. Who did you have a hard time leaving outside your starting 11?
So obviously, I mentioned Bunny. I think she was right up there. And then, honestly, when I looked at my first 11, I was like, okay, well, I got to put in Sam Kerr, who we mentioned at the top of this segment. I do think, kind of with the injury bug that she had during the World Cup, if we're talking about players who had like the best 2023, it's obviously not her fault that she got injured, but that kind of takes away from it a little bit. So I thought Sam Kerr was a tough one to leave out. Lindsey Horan, I will say, I was kind of surprised. I do not have an American in my squad. And I love Lindsey Horan. She's probably my favorite American player currently playing.
Same.
But that midfield is too crowded. There are too many good number 10, number 8 like players there. So I would say Bunny, Horan, Kerr, and I'll give some very quick shout outs here. So Rachel Daly, proud lioness for the England squad. At Aston Villa, she had 22 goals in the WSL.
Let's go.
And Rachel Daly, she's obviously a goal scorer, but she gave us some great minutes at left back in the World Cup for England. So she's a versatile player. Alba Redondo, 27 goals in Liga F for Levante. And 3 in the World Cup for España. So not a bad year's work for Redondo there. Win a World Cup and score 27 goals for your club. Nothing to sneeze at. A player we've talked about a lot, Asisat Ashwala, scored a ton of goals as well. And then probably one of my favorite under-the-radar type players, as under-the-radar as you can be when scoring 25 goals for your club, Rachel Kundanaji. Anybody who watched us talk about the Women's World Cup, Dino did a fucking incredible job covering the Copper Queens of Zambia. Like I said, Kundanaji, she had 25 goals in Liga F, and she added another one for the Copper Queens in the World Cup. So shout out to her, because that kind of productivity you have to reward, at least in an honorable mention, I think.
Yeah, 100%. She was great. And shout out to fellow Copper Queen, Baba Amanda. She's still out doing her thing in Shanghai. She didn't make my starting 11, but she's always a ITC favorite. My toughest cuts, Kira Walsh. That one hurt.
Yep.
Sophia Smith, 2022 NWSL MVP. Basically came down to her versus Bunny Shaw in that striker spot. One of my favorites, obviously, PSG captain Grace Kayoro, who's pretty much turned that PSG team around. Lindsey Horan, who you mentioned, Rose Lavelle, that was tough. Lady Gunner, key contributor on Sweden's national team, Amanda Ilestedt. Couldn't find a spot for her either. She's on the FIFA Pro list. Linda Caicedo, maybe the breakout star of the World Cup. I mean, just a massive coming out party for her. Shout out to, I think it was Jackie Oatley who had the Caicedo.
It was amazing.
Probably my favorite call in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Esther Gonzalez, also a great year as well, scored the go-ahead goal in the NWSL final and obviously contributed to Spain's success. Really enjoyed the exercise. Like I said, man, if anybody could hook us up and actually run this in for us, throw your boys a screenshot. When we do get t-shirts or stickers, we'll definitely have one with your name on it.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else you want to cover before we get out of here?
So some of the players that were mentioned in the FIFA Pro list. Let's see here. So Mappy Leon from Barcelona and España, great defender. I talked about Lucy Bronze. Fridolina Rolfo from Sweden is a great midfielder. I mean, that midfield is so crowded that it is just hard to break through. I thought it was pretty cool that Ella Toon made it from the Lionesses. Jenny Hermoso, goes without saying, she has a ton of impact on the field. Now she's moving to Liga MX Femenil down in Mexico. Alessia Russo, also another lioness. I mean, I feel like when you appear in the World Cup final, you're bound to have a lot of players. And I tried to check my biases at the door and was just like, okay, don't make this too many England players. But they play for elite clubs and they made the World Cup final. So I had 4 on my squad. I think I had 4 from Spain, 4 from England, and then, Cuthbert, CGH, and Renard were my non-English or Spain players. Mm-hmm. Between the two of us, I feel like we kind of had the international game covered, but that World Cup success, I mean, me and you, we love club football. We love the Champions League. I think it's the highest level of the sport you could play. But that World Cup stage, that just makes an impact when you're talking about the best players in the world, I think.
Yeah, and I might be a dummy about this, but I'm wondering if the FIFA Pro list is probably more, maybe extremely heavily weighted toward national team, performance this year. Obviously you mentioned a lot of Spain, a lot of England, a lot of Sweden, who had a great run in the tournament as well.
I think so, but I also think that, let's just be total football fans about this, FIFA doesn't know shit. All they do, they're just in this for the money. They're just trying to get as much money out of every country as they could possibly get. So FIFA, thanks for the great football games. Thanks for licensing EA to make great football video games for me and us since we were kids. But, you guys are just greedy bastards who don't really know anything about what you're watching. So you put together this list. You gave us some time to kind of make fun of it a little bit and make it better. Great players on the list. Good job. You guys could have picked names out of a hat and ended up with, 30 great players. But leave it to your boys. We'll make the better starting 11s.
Hell yeah. No, now I'm realizing no French players at all, even though there might be 3 French teams in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Women's Champions League. We'll see. Anytime, anywhere, any place, any field, our 11 versus your 11, we're fucking ready.
Let's go. Yeah, great point about no French players. I mean, I should have mentioned one of my cuts, and we talk about her all the time. I mean, if you're talking about skill for skill, Kariratu Diani, what the fuck are we talking about? She's not one of the 8 best attackers in the world.
That's ridiculous.
Maybe without naming names, because I don't want to turn this into a podcast that always blasts one player particularly. I think Diani is a better player than, maybe for sure a better player than one of those players that's on the FIFA Pro list. We'll let the audience use their imagination for what player we might be referencing.
Yeah, just for 2023.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
All right, man, I think we did it. This has been another episode of Into the Channel. Subscribe or follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to watch or listen. Ratings, reviews, comments, all of them always appreciated. At ITC_pod on X, at Into the Channel pod on Threads. Big thank you to my co-host, Mr. Grant Eagle, for being pretty much the first name I penciled into my starting 11.
Same here, buddy. You're my number 10 moving forward, so I appreciate that. And let's, maybe when the budget allows, I'll cop that PS5, we'll crank up EA FC 24. We'll make it happen with these matches.
Let's go. All right, man. I'll catch you next week.
Yep. Talk to you later.